Right, welcome back, and back to you, Dr. Naguib. And no, before I start with the economic situation and this important meeting the President held via video conference, and we're speaking about the economy, and we're speaking about the image of the country, and we're speaking about how the world see Egypt, which is filled with opportunities. Let me take from you, how did you view this significant, extraordinary, extravagant, breathtaking parade that we have just seen 2 days ago, and how the world saw that, and how did the world look at Egypt as an attraction? Your vision to all this.
It's a great start for our debate, and I think there hasn't been any single person that I have talked with, whether within my own working environment, my own students, my colleagues, friends from all over the world, without mentioning how great it was. And for us as Egyptians, how great the feeling was, with pride, with ambition, with hope, with this parade. Actually, it's very relevant to our discussion, because economy and investment relies primarily in trust on the atmosphere, in opportunities, in hope to gain and to really create some good investment within the country that you are seeking, for example, foreign investment, direct foreign investment, and so on. So it was a good and opportune moment for us as Egyptians to feel it, but the world as well. Coincidentally, before coming to this show minutes ago, somebody was talking to me from one of the famous resorts in Egypt, telling me there is literally no place here. This is not because only of 2 days ago what happened, but you can tell that amid all these coronavirus restrictions, the fears, the precautions, the curfews in many countries, and the quarantine and so on, Egypt is still a safe place for people to come to it. Of course, this is not to eliminate or belittle the health precautions and the safety precautions, but it's, as I said, it's a moment with pride that we really should build on it for investment for the future. And I feel, and the President has mentioned that, and the Prime Minister as well as the Minister of Tourism and Antiquities, this is just the beginning. Because when you have...
We're anticipating for another...
Exactly.
The inauguration, of course, of the...
Just let me tell you one little thing about that. One of the TVs, actually it was in Melbourne, Australia, they said it's very rare to have this kind of volume of parade without any glitch, without any mistake.
Yes, indeed. I saw this, yes.
Yes, very unlikely. And knock on wood. So it also tells us what we can do, because you want to attract foreign investment, but also you rely on the people of this country, like in your nice introduction, for employment, for competitiveness, and so on.
And exactly this is why I was asking you of how the world received that, because how the world received that would open my discussion towards our reforms. Because yes, we are doing reforms from one side, but how is the world receiving this?
Yes,
particularly with such an extraordinary event.
Yes, receiving it, a short-sighted but correct vision will be relying on the increase in the volume of tourism and the willingness. Being in the place of any one of the people abroad watching this show, and by the way, there are so many, let's say, broadcast and channels who have broadcast the show, or this parade. 400
channels.
But the greater number is those who went on the media and YouTube and alike to look at it. Mm-hmm. And I can bet you that people like you and me who have watched it live on TV have tried to see it again, listen to the music again. I did that myself. So that tells you that no one who has seen this did not wish, everybody wished really to be in Egypt and come at the soonest opportunity. Mm-hmm. The following day, Egyptians were rushing to the new museum. So these are all glimpses of the start of something nice that's unfolding. So
that takes me to the topic itself, and that is, in fact, a proof that Egypt's is keen to continue to create a climate favorable for attracting the foreign direct investments and investments in general.
FDIs.
So that was very much indeed stressed by President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi when he spoke to some of the leading U.S. corporations during a meeting the U.S. Chamber of Commerce here in Egypt organized. How did you read his message of Egypt's keenness to continue to create this conducive atmosphere for investments?
The first message I read, and I think everyone could notice that it's a continuation of His Excellency the President's effort to attract FDIs, foreign direct investment, as you just mentioned. And let's not forget that this kind of meeting is an expansion or an extension of a meeting that has been, or meetings that have been taking place when the President goes to speak to the General Assembly in New York. Every year, of course, the coronavirus have changed and delayed and made some of these things online. But what I'm saying is that President was keen to meet with similar stakeholders, American investors in the U.S. as well as in Egypt. As we are about to talk about this important aspect, let us remind the viewers that the U.S. economy is more or less the third of the volume of the economy of the world. The third, in terms of 1/3 of the world economy, is an American one.
Yes.
Immediately post the Second World War, it was exactly half. And throughout this time, from 1945 until today, it has been from 29%, 30% until 50%. And that's why anyone who is interested in economic relations and in development can never underestimate the volume of trade, of commerce, of cooperation with a country with the volume of the U.S. Let me also highlight something else. The American economy, and I would dare to say also the Egyptian economy, have something in common, which is the diversification. America, unlike what people may think, it's not just Spain and France and Italy and these nice countries that attract tourism. America is one of the leading countries in tourism. You know, of course, we're talking before Corona, and hopefully the world will go back more or less to its agriculture, of course, industry, which is on top of all of that. The President has just mentioned also in his speech, to continue the economic and the military cooperation. It's not a secret. Egypt is cooperating on many different aspects with the U.S.
Definitely.
Several maneuvers.
The U.S. is a strategic partner.
Exactly.
For Egypt,
and in the lowest,
for decades.
Yes, and I would like to second what you're saying. The meaning of a strategic partner in that regard as well is that even when there are disagreements, and these agreements happen between Egypt and America and any other part, but they are civilized disagreements that to be resolved, and keeping the joint and common interests of the two large countries into perspective all the time. So even, alhamdulillah, not now, but before, when there were some kind of, let's say, low points of this relation, it maintained its good status compared to any other relation worldwide. Because
it is aware that we are strategic partners, even at the backdrops of some of things that happened or others that changed, but this relationship cannot be changed for many reasons and for many interests, bilateral interests. If we get back to what was said in this virtual meeting, and they also spoke about the quantum leap witnessed by Egypt in various economic and development sectors that reflected the strong determination by the state to accomplish sustainable development. And we have seen many sectors being developed enormously. How from your point of view is that, or does that stress the keenness of the country really to attract its international partners into the country?
Okay.
The keenness itself, and how is this?
Okay. It's an important point actually in our conversation or discussion to highlight this fact. Let me step back a little bit and try to think put myself in the shoes of our American partner. Why this keenness in cooperating with a country like Egypt? Okay, as great as it is, but there is special keenness on that. First, and that's well known, Egypt is one of the largest economies in Africa. It's classified either as first or second, depending on the way of identifying itself. But first or second, you're talking about, together with South Africa, Egypt is the leading economy in Africa. Large economy. Of course, that does not mean it's an economy without problems or without so much positive signs and without negative aspects as well. No, it has its own problems and challenges like almost any other economy in the world. Very few exceptions to that. So that's the first thing. You're talking and cooperating with a very large economy, very powerful economy. The second part is that Egypt has survived, alhamdulillah, I say that, and I say that with hope and asking and praying to God to keep it for us. Egypt has passed or is passing, let's not be ahead of ourselves, the corona crisis with minimal drops and with maintaining a positive growth in its economy. The economy is growing 3+%. Some people say 3.6, 3.7, 3.8, and it was 5.6, 5.7 prior to that. So when you have a partner that could sustain and survive such difficult circumstances with positive growth, that's a strong partner. And last but definitely not least, look at Egypt where it is today. Look at Egypt with the Suez Canal, in your nice introduction about the new investment zones.
Yes, Egypt, in 1 week, two victories in 1 week. Yes, that's another important.
I would just say one thing here. Egypt, for the U.S. and for other partners, is the key, I wouldn't say even a key, is the key partner to be and exist in Africa. And the U.S. has felt or is feeling that they are less involved in the continent of Africa, unlike China, for example, that's been there for at least a decade and a half, 15 years and so on. So the U.S. is looking at Egypt as a very strong partner in this regard. These are just some of the aspects why the U.S. partner is keen in cooperating. These are not everything. And of course, the opportunities that could be created as a result of this cooperation.
I don't want to be repetitive, but truly you've pinpointed your finger on a very important issue, which is the Suez Canal. And the Suez Canal as well as the Egyptian geographic location. And that makes me ask about the Egyptian location geographically. How is this important? How is the Suez Canal is inevitable or it's the navigation route that cannot be averted or even ignored or even exchanged for any other. How far are all those sources put Egypt in a very, very special, if I may say, weight?
Yes. Okay.
Geographically and also everything, potentials, the geographic location, all the routes that Egypt has, the potentials of Egypt itself and its strength, the relations, its political weight, everything, I mean.
Okay. Again, I would love to talk about that for a long time, but let me be a bit focused on that. The Egypt geographic position and where it's situated has not changed because it's always been an advantage for Egypt.
Yes.
And that's why Egypt has always been in the focal point of invaders whenever they invaded and wanted to control a region. So that's a given. And the Suez Canal, when we talk about Suez Canal, let's also talk about our vision as Egyptians, as leadership, that we have been investing in the Suez Canal itself as a canal, as an international pathway between the East and the West. If you talk about 12% alone of the entire volume that's humongous, of the world trade pass through the Suez Canal, then people would really understand how much it is of value to the world. But here I would like to make a pause and say the Suez Canal itself is not our real investment. Our real investment is what we are trying to do around the Suez Canal, the industrial zones, the attractions, the repair, the maintenance of ships. These are just simple examples. The opportunities that could create by loading and unloading the cargo and distributing, by creating industries halfway or midway, because some of the goods cannot sustain a very long journey and needs to be, let's say, manufactured or semi-manufactured on the way. So these are great opportunities. Let me remind the viewers that, of course, we know that there has been talk, and I could feel that embedded in your question. You didn't speak about explicitly, but I could see that embedded, that there are other countries who have had or raised their own dreams and wishes of creating other competitive pathways.
I didn't speak about that. Okay.
Yes, but other countries also are thinking about the polar area, because of the global warming and the melting of the snow, that they would open the pathway by snow and ice and let people, instead of going halfway around the globe to go, for example, from the US to China, then they will go just over the polar area. These are all pathways, but what make the Suez Canal advantageous is the industries, the growth, and the ability really to attract investment in that area. And I want really to highlight that, because that's what really gives it a real competitiveness in the future.
Pathways.
Pathways.
Only pathways.
No, the pathway is, my point is, to create other pathways is possible. Let's not create anything. Isn't the Cape of Good Hope around Africa is another way. What made people use, by the way, Cape of Good Hope these days, a little bit more before this incident took place in the Suez Canal, is the relatively low price of fuel.
Yes, yes.
But once petroleum or oil goes up high, then they will calculate every penny and every extra knot.
And that exact point emerged at the backdrop of what happened in the Suez Canal and this problem that emerged. Suddenly, the fuel prices or the oil prices jumped as soon as this
yes.
issue. So I mean here that when Egypt really solved the issue of the Suez Canal with 100% of Egyptian efforts, it just went down again.
Yes, but I'm talking also, in addition to that,
I mean, yes, please.
No, just one little thing here. My generation, I have witnessed, I think it was around the year 2004, 2005, if my memory serves well, that the oil prices were above $105 US.
Yes.
So
Indeed.
when the oil prices are that high, then the cost only of fuel, and by the way, of course, everyone knows that when the cost of fuel, whether petroleum or gas or whatever, goes high, all other commodities will go high. We all know that even in Egypt, when the price of benzene, kerosene goes high, then everything else goes higher.
Yes.
So it's not only a result, it's a cause. Yes. No, but people, no, what happens in Egypt, frankly, is that people overprice the increase and not proportional to the increase in oil and
Definitely, but what I meant here also was pinpointing our finger on two issues you spoke about: the importance of the Suez Canal and how one incident changed the whole economic situation of the whole world, or how the world looked into it economically, and second, because of what you said respectively about some dreams of some countries to open other pathways that can really be in competition of the Suez Canal or
we all know in every crisis there is an opportunity. That situation or incident took place, and I would like to state that if anyone, I'm not specialized in navigation, but when I read about incident of that nature, that happens in pathways in general, whether it's a river like the Rhine River in Germany, whether, for example, or the Mississippi, or any other Panama Canal and so on. The Suez Canal, alhamdulillah, knock on wood, one with the least incident of that nature happening. But the good side I'm talking about here, it's a reminder for the world and for ourselves.
Yes.
For the importance of that pathway, and for the importance of increasing the investment, the safety factors, the lessons learned from the incident. We are really capitalizing on that to increase the investment and to increase the performance of the Suez Canal in the decades to come.
Right. So the big companies who were speaking to, the president has praised already the priorities, returning back to what we were speaking about in the first place. And they spoke about the priorities of Egypt's investment plan. So they spoke about, of course, this has to go with the global economic system as well, but they spoke about how Egypt is so much keen or consistent in putting all efforts in the field of energy, plus in another issue, which is the urban or new cities and the new smart cities and industrial hubs. Those exactly where the U.S. big companies or the CEOs of those companies spoke about Egypt's priorities, which is seen on the ground. How do you view that, and how do you view Egypt's priorities being put?
Very nicely articulated, the priorities. Before I comment on the priorities that were put on that meeting, let's compare these priorities with Egypt priorities as stated in Egypt Vision 2030. They are almost 100% kind of similarity of what's mentioned here to what's mentioned there. And also our plan, our urban development plan in the country, with all the new cities developed. And I had the pleasure before in your show here to talk about the new cities being developed and so on. One angle of this is not only the energy and the development, but doing it in a green and environmental friendly way. And that was important part of the discussion, because many countries in the world, the US is starting to be on the same, some countries like Netherlands, like Germany, like Japan, and mainly European countries are kind of refraining from cooperating in areas where the economy is not going to be green. And therefore we hear terms like green economy, green jobs, and so on. So doing it, and all the new cities that are being developed that you have kindly pointed out to, hopefully we are not going to do more of the same, as I once mentioned. We are going to do it in a better way, in a greener way, with less pollution, with more utilization of what we have around us, relying on solar energy as one of so many renewable and greener energy than the fossil fuel, for example. So it takes different facades, as you mentioned that in your introduction, but also Egypt is very keen, because once you have energy, and that's why you talk about energy plus infrastructure is the easiest and fastest and most guaranteed way to gain investment. You provide facilities in terms of land with infrastructure, and there is a good supply of energy, then you boost the industry in a fast and in a good way. And by the way, that's what actually happened post the Second World War for most of the Western countries. Strong infrastructure. I was talking minutes ago about Germany, Autobahn network of highways, the Eisenhower in the US with the strategic highways over there. You have a very set, this is just an example, of modern, efficient, well-connected network of highways and freeways in some cases without any interruption here or there, as well as making energy available, and now greener energy. That is the fastest recipe for good attraction of investment and for boosting the industry in Egypt and hopefully in the region.
Yes. Before I go on with our discussion, I guess we have another report, and the Minister of International Cooperation, Rania El-Mashat, met with the European Union ambassador in Cairo to look into the progress made through the joint cooperation within the framework of the strategic partnership between Egypt and the European Union. Let's watch the report and we'll come back for more discussion.